What's going down, man? It's your boy Donnie Houston. Say, man, Slab Karaoke, March 1st, Faces, 5104 Alameda. It's going down. You don't want to miss it. This is the H-Town event of all H-Town events. Slab Karaoke. It's like regular karaoke, but with an H-Town twist. You know what I'm saying? You can come out, perform Southside, 25 Lights on My Dresser, Tops Drop, Still Tipping, Riding Dirty, Back Then, Swinging and Banging, My Mind Playing Tricks on Me. It doesn't matter. Whatever H-Town record, man, is going down. March 1st, Slab Karaoke. I'm hosting it. It's brought to you by Top Shelf Entertainment. Hey, man, come out. It might be some special guests in the building, man. You never know. This is the H-Town event of all H-Town events. I'm telling you. Be there. March 1st, Faces, 5104 Alameda, Slab Karaoke. It's going down. Subscribe to the Donnie Houston podcast, man.
What's up, everybody? This is Def Jam Blaster coming to you live from the Donnie Houston podcast, but we're in the video now, so we got it everywhere. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow my man. Like the video. Hey, follow me too. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all of that at Def Jam Blaster. Find me and find my man Donnie Houston, all right? It's coming to you now. I got a lot of good stories to tell. Listen up.
Yeah, man, it's going down this Donnie Houston podcast. I am Donnie Houston. Check it out, man. We got a special guest, you know what I'm saying? Legend, real legend. I'm always, like I said, I'm always happy about these type of guests, man. Always excited about these type of guests. And I know him personally, you know what I'm saying? Been able to work with him, just DJing around the city, man. But he's been doing his thing, I'm talking about since the late 80s. Starting out with Scarface and Sharp Style Records, you know what I'm saying, going on doing stuff with rap a lot, going on creating his own brand. It's Def, as his name, Def Jam Blaster. I didn't want to say the name before I introduced it, but I lit it out. Def Jam Blaster, you know what I mean, went on with the Hollywood Boys with Aggravated. Y'all just saw him on here. And man, I got him here. Def Jam Blaster, what's the deal, man?
Man, what's going on, Donnie? Appreciate you having me, man. You know, just ready to get into it, man. Let everybody know.
The Blaster? That's amazing.
yeah,
just like one of the greatest DJ names of all time. You know what I'm saying?
You know, and so goes the story of me, right straight into production right there. I get home after a party, 2 or 3 in the morning one night. You know, it's only 3 or 4 channels back in the 80s, so flip on the TV, whatever's on. You know, this old show from the 60s is on. And I probably caught it 15 minutes into the show, and I'm not really paying attention. I'm unwinding, doing whatever, putting records down in the room. And I just hear the word blaster in the episode, kind of catches my ear, and I look up. Then I hear something else like, you know, how did you know the blaster would be here? I was like, oh, shit. I run and find a VHS tape and throw it in the VCR and record like the last 15 minutes of the episode. And I just start finding all the times they said blaster or something that I thought was cool, sampled it. And when I sampled it, I have like, let's say like 15 different phrases, and I took some Scotch tape, put a piece of tape on every key as to what phrase was on. This one says the blaster. This one says the blaster strikes at midnight. I just labeled all the keys with that. And I just sat there. I actually made a song like that. But at the same time, I came up with the drop, the blaster. That's amazing. And it just stuck. I was like, you know, simple. I'm gonna just keep it simple and just use this for my branding, for everything. And I got drops from everybody in the industry, but that's the one. You know what I'm saying?
That's the one.
And I like it even more because I made it. You know, he doesn't say that. You know, that's not the phrase that the character says. I just took 2 different parts and made it a phrase.
And everybody thinks that's the way it goes.
But that's hip hop. You know what I'm saying? You find something, you sample these 2 pieces and reassemble them in your own way. That's hip hop to me. So that's why I love that drop too, and everybody else likes it, so I appreciate that. The people would call up to the radio station, you know, R.I.P. to Wicked Cricket. He used to call the hotline. Not too many people would have the hotline where the red light comes on when the phone rings and you answer that one because it could be the boss. It's Wicked Cricket. Say, man, go on, hit that drop for me, Blast. You know how I love that drop. And I'd be like, why? It ain't got, you know, why do you like it so? But people just like, they love it. You know, I walked in here today. I hear y'all saying it when I'm walking up the stairs.
I didn't even know you was coming in. I just said it. I was like, the blaster.
And people do that all the time. You know, people do that all the time. So I love it. I appreciate that, you know, some little small 1 second piece of stuff that I put together. made that impact.
Became like historic.
Yeah, and people recognize it. So love it. Very grateful for that.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I mean, let's just jump into it. Well,
Yeah.
right now we got the before we even do that, because we got the Big Mike and 3-2 thing going right now. The vinyl. So this is like, I mean, I know you're still spinning, but this is one of the newer projects,
Right. And I got a few things like that, but yeah, Mr. 3-2 and Big Mike were both, buddies of mine. Me and 3-2 were friends in high school. We hung out all the time, not just on music stuff. We hung out, and he would come to parties with me and stuff like that. So did lots of music with all kinds of people, and did music with them, not when they were the convicts, just as, separate artists doing their own thing. People would come over like, hey man, I got an idea, or, I want to do this, want to do that. And so a company out of the UK contacted me and said, hey, we want to release that stuff. So, I got with Mama 3-2 and with Mr. Big Mike, and, we got that all set up, and there it is right there. It's 5 songs that I did with them back in probably late 80s, early 90s that right now available as a 12-inch. So,
Yeah, it is. Man, well, let's just jump into it, man.
Yeah.
Mo City.
Yes, Mo City.
80s.
Yeah. I'm my earliest memory living in Mo City was in some apartments called Hillcroft Square, right at South Main Hillcroft. So I spent some years in Hillcroft Square, but I think by the time I was old enough to go to school, we lived in Ridgemont, right down the street. So I grew up in Ridgemont, went to Ridgemont Elementary, and so I was in that part of Mo City.
Was Ridgemont at the time? It was what type of neighborhood was this? Because I mean, we know it's a hood now.
This is like 77, probably 76, 77. So yeah, it was nice. Yeah, it was just straight, middle class, nice area. Kids go out playing in the street. Everybody got basketball goals at the house. Everything looks nice and new because it was new. Ridgemont was new at that time. I think Hiram Clark runs through there now. My house was right there on Ridge Rod Lane before Hiram Clark was there, so it was just a huge field. We'd go out there and pick berries. I mean, we were straight middle class. You know what I'm saying? Nice place to raise a family. Type.
He said
type
pick berries. Yeah. It was nice.
We was out there picking berries in the woods and stuff. It was a cool place to be, man. So.
So are you into just the music that's going on with your parents going on at that time? Or are you gravitating to music at a young age, like before the hip hop?
Definitely, because there's not a lot of access to everything. So, mom puts on Gladys Knight or Johnny Mathis or the Carpenters, that's what's playing in the whole house. So wasn't like I had my own stereo, and I was cool with it. Stuff was, hey, I'm a kid. I'm just adapting to what they're listening to. Dad gets home. He's putting on Bootsy, Parliament, stuff like that. I'm adapting to that too. So house was always full of music. My mother always had music going. So, that was just a natural thing for me. Like many people.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
With music in the house. So, yeah.
But then that hip hop came along though. When's the first time that you remember when you said, okay, what is this? Oh, it's a thing called hip hop. Like, what do you?
So my memory is, and I've kind of got this philosophy. There's the first generation hip hop, which is the people in New York, in the Bronx, in the boroughs, doing it,
going to parties and doing
Kool Herc's parties in Cedar Park, whatever they're doing. That's the first generation, and I consider the second generation to start 1979 when Rapper's Delight came out, because that was the first record where now this thing is everywhere. So all the way down in Ridgemont, I can be a part of this. Had never really heard anything about any of that. My dad brought that record home like he did with everything else that was hot, and was like, hey man, listen to this. And it comes on and I'm thinking it's good times. And then, all of a sudden it's not good times. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I'm a kid, but I'm like, yeah, this is really cool. I like it. Memorized it. At this right now, you can drop me at any point in that song and I can probably finish the whole 15-minute version, because it was such a phenomenon. I just wore it out over and over. Wasn't necessarily affiliated with the term hip hop. That wouldn't come 2 years later as far as me knowing what, hip hop culture is, because there's no way to know it. All it existed for me in Ridgemont in 1979 is that record. So there's no movies, there's no TV shows, there's nothing that's going on.
These guys just doing something different over a record.
We just got this record, and it sounds different from all the other records. Like I was probably, jamming Atomic Dog or it's whatever, Flashlight or something previous, and then put that on. Like, this is different, and it was super cool. Like, I'm using the old phrase intentionally. It was super groovy, man. Like, whoa, what are they doing? This is pretty cool. And that definitely sparked the bug. But then it wasn't like a rap record was coming out every month or even every year. I don't remember what else came out in 79. That might have been the only rap record.
That's crazy, because The Breaks doesn't come to the next year.
Right. So that was the rap song for 1979.
I've never thought about like that, like
the timeline. Because see, now when we look back at stuff, it's just, consecutive lines on a page. But you got to remember, there might have been a year in between. So I don't remember any other rap song from 1979. It was just that. That was it. You played it till it got worn out, and he bought another copy. And that was how it went.
Well, I said The Breaks. Like, Christmas rapping was before The Breaks, but
was that 1980 maybe?
It's like right there.
Yeah, it's close after, but it took a minute. So.
Damn. So okay, when do you start hearing? I would say Run DMC is probably when you kind of really got, because this is 83 when DMC.
Run DMC would have been 83. Yeah.
Well, B Street is before that though.
B Street's around 84,
around the same time.
I think it's a little bit. It's close, just going off of memory, but it might have been Run DMC, and then
I'm lying. You're right. B Street is like
84, maybe. 84. You have B Street and Crush Groove, pretty close together. Again, in the looking back 30-some year timeline, they're pretty close together. But you'd have Curtis Blow. The Breaks was big. Christmas rapping was big, but they didn't play it year round. But yeah, The Breaks was big. And then probably the next song I really remember hearing all the time was Planet Rock. Which was just huge. It was incredible. Like, that one really blew me away, because Curtis Blow, Rapper's Delight, those sound like a band in the studio playing a song.
Yeah.
Those are real, like Curtis Blow, you listen to some of those records, man, I'm like, I want to know who the band is. They're in there killing it. But then Planet Rock, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. It's all these synthesizers, and now everything sounds electric and crisp and perfect. And I was like, this is not like, Curtis Blow. So that was probably a big turn in the sound, at least for me.
Did you? Because I was getting ready to jump. It's so much with you, but I was getting ready to jump too far. We talking about Planet Rock. Are you getting into breakdancing and the other elements, or because you don't see the DJing until B Street?
Absolutely. Now, but that would be 83, 84. When you get to that era is when I started probably getting into all the elements. And what I would say back then, everybody kind of did everything because it was so brand new. So the people that I remember hanging around, we tried everything. So, you give me a marker or a spray can, I can do a tag, but I wasn't great at that. I could break dance. I can probably do something now, and you won't see me for a month. I'll be in rehab, but I can do it. So we did all those things. Rapping, I'm probably rapping on some of the one of these records. I'm rapping on, because we did everything back then. But eventually, you would settle into, this is what I'm really good at, or what I really enjoy more. One of the gifts that I used to always want to get for Christmas was Mattel Sensonic drums. It was a little electronic drum thing that they would sell at like Sears or somewhere. And it was an early drum machine. And I would get one and probably wear it out, break it. 2 years later, ask for another one. Can I get another Sensonic drum?
Did it make sounds? You could actually program
it makes sounds. You could hit the buttons and make sounds. And it had 4 little rubber pads on it that you could hit with drumsticks. And you could put some headphones in, or you could plug it into the stereo to hear it. And it was just incredible to me. Like, I can actually make a beat. It was nothing good. I'm just banging on it with the drumsticks, but I started to gravitate in that direction, more of the music side. I still would, have my white gloves so I could pop and everybody could see, that's just how it was in the 80s. But I would still do the other things, but definitely leaned further towards music. Like, okay, that's more my side, making beats or trying to rap or trying to DJ. You know, that was definitely my angle. You know, like I was probably the worst at graffiti, and I was like, yeah, I can't really do this stuff. You know, so.
Who was some of the first like DJs or like first times you remember hearing like scratching and that type of stuff?
For me, the moment that I kind of remember was Malcolm McLaren, Buffalo Gals was the song. And I think I saw it like either on Night Tracks or some video show. And I was like, wait a minute, what is this guy doing? You know, I hear the sound, but I'm not making the connection because you've never seen it in real life. So you don't know, this is just some kind of weird synthesizer sound or something. But then when I saw the video, I was like, wait a minute, this guy is doing something to the record. What's going on? And it was just one of those light bulb moments like, well, if that's all he's doing, I can probably do that. I got a record player. You know, and it was terrible, but, you know, trying it out.
I could get some sounds going.
Yeah, trying it out was horrible. But that is probably the moment when I really was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I kind of want to learn how to scratch, too. That was pretty cool, seeing that video. And
this is before Beat Street?
I don't know. I don't know if it's before Beat Street. It's just that's my memory of really, look, it may have been before I saw Beat Street, because in Mo City, where was I going to go see it? You know, I wasn't necessarily going into Houston that much. So it might have been before I saw Beat Street. But that's, because I think I have a memory that by the time I saw Beat Street, I already kind of knew, yeah, you know, I'm a DJ. I had already kind of thought that to myself. But for some reason, I'm thinking the Malcolm McLaren might have been like 1983 maybe, or early 84, maybe before Beat Street came out. Even if it's the same year, you know, you still got time that things could happen apart from each other. So Malcolm McLaren, Buffalo Gals is the memory that I have. It was like I said, by the time I see Beat Street, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what he's doing. I know how to do a little bit of that. So. And he's doing the same thing in there. He's got the little cowbell. He's tapping. You know, he's not just doing the record. He's doing music. And I was like, yep, that's how we do it. I'm doing the record, but I got the drum machine here. I got this over here. So
you had the setup. When do you actually start? Like, I mean, are you going more into production at home, or do you start DJing like parties and stuff? Which one?
It's everything at the same time, and it's a very slow process because, again, I'm in Mo City. So it's a suburb.
You got to figure out where to even go.
There's no music stores. There's nothing you can really, I don't even know what a music store is. Again, it's not like in New York, if you're just walking down the street, you might see, oh, there's a music store. There's a suit store. We're in the suburbs. All it is a grocery store, you know, on South Post Oak. That's all there is a Gerland's right there, you know. So you just don't know this stuff. So it's a very slow process. And I knew I wanted to learn how to scratch. So, you know, I had the record player where it's an all-in-one garbage turntable. You can't do nothing with that. So I eventually am able to get a separate turntable from Radio Shack. And so it may be like, let me get a turntable for my birthday. Can I get a mixer for Christmas type thing? Piecemealing stuff together. But even then, and it's because they built a Radio Shack in Mo City eventually, where it used to be a Randall's shopping center, and it was a Radio Shack in there. So eventually I can start getting equipment now, because now I'm no longer in Ridgemont. We live in Hunters Glen at this point, so I'm a little closer to that area. And so we go through you get the mixer, but it doesn't have crossfader. We never heard of that. It's just up and down. So one of my buddies who was from New York was like, hey man, in New York they use mixers with a crossfader. I was like, what the hell is that? So we're going through all of that over the course of years, figuring all this stuff out. But at the same time, I'm also like, well, you know, I got this drum machine, so I'm gonna try to make a beat. But I keep hearing people talk about, you know, the 808. Never saw it, but I knew Roland was the name. So at some point, I'm able to get the Roland 505. It's a little small white drum machine. And so it's just piecing slowly together. So like in Beat Street, I got the drum machine here. I got one turntable, one mixer. And, you know, that's my setup. So, you know, I'll make a beat. Maybe I'll just scratch over it a little bit. I just really wanted to learn how to scratch. So DJing parties was way later.
This is what age when you're doing this?
This is like 14. I started when I was 13, so this is 13, 14, 15. A lot of stuff happens in those 3 years.
Yeah, because this is Scarface, is 3-2. This is all y'all starting.
All this stuff starts happening. Because we're talking, 13, 14. Okay, now we're doing the 7-inch. I'm DJ Action, my man. That's where like 14, about to be 15 doing that.
But how do you even, talk about how you even meet Scarface. I know he was in that area.
Well, we went to school together. We went to Mo City Junior High together. And so what would happen in that era of hip hop, everybody wasn't doing hip hop stuff. So if you had the nerve to say, I know how to rap, then people would be like, well, shit, rap. Everybody crowd around. This dude can rap. It was a unique thing. So if you said, hey, I know how to make beats, whatever you said you knew how to do, you had to be able to show and prove, and then those people would connect. So he was a guy that, he was a good beatboxer too. So he was a guy that beatboxed and rap. People knew I knew how to make beats and stuff. And so you would just kind of, those 4 or 5 people would end up gravitating towards each other and knowing each other. The classic, rapping and banging on the tables in the lunchroom type stuff. So that would be how we met, in school. He's one of the guys that could rap. I was one of the guys that knew how to make beats. And so, that was it. Like, okay, well, let's get together and see what we can do. And, all the stuff that we used to do, my neighbor who lived across the street was Marcus Wiley. And he was kind of a rapper at the time. And one of the things I do now, whenever I do a show with him, sometimes I DJ on some of his comedy shows. Every time before a show, I email him one of the old songs that we made just to freak his mind out, because he doesn't remember any of this stuff. And I'd be like, dude, I got a whole album that we made probably in 1985 or something. It's terrible. I'm going to sing you one song at a time. But we would all three go in Marcus Wiley's garage for that reverb effect and take turns beatboxing and freestyling. So, and then that graduated on to, 505 drum beats. Eventually, I think I got like one of the Yamaha SK keyboards, not the SK8, but like a SK4 with the little 4 yellow drum pads. Those were sample pads. Okay, so now, we're making beats, trying to add little samples and stuff. And so basically that's how we met. And also the guy, Billy DMC, he was a few years older than us, but he was a rapper. He was from Michigan, but he moved down to Mo City. And he was part of that too. He kind of knew some guys because he was a little older. He was like, well, yeah, man, this guy Crazy C. And, so he knew people too and kind of would bring people together as well. I don't want to leave him out of the story, but basically we were at school together. And so that was how we all kind of met. So,
so so you meet Face before 3-2?
Yes. Yes.
But y'all all went to middle school together, though, right?
We did, but I don't know if 3-2 was doing that stuff. We're like 6th grade. I don't know if he was doing that stuff yet. But even bigger, I got to think about the zoning. Like, would he have even been out there yet? I don't know if he lived in Briargate yet, or if he lived a little further in Hiram Clark area or somewhere else. I don't know if he was out there yet, because I didn't meet 3-2 till we got to high school, a few years later. So 3-2 may not have even been at Mo City. I had to pull out the yearbook.
So he's not around when y'all doing DJ Action, my man.
He's not. No, it's just me and Brad and the other guys that I was working with at the time, other people around the way. So yeah, I knew Brad first, and he lived like the next neighborhood over, so he would ride his bike over to my parents' house, where I got the little makeshift studio in my bedroom, and he would ride over there. And if we weren't across the street at Marcus Wiley's house, then we're in my room, like really recording, trying to really record a song off the drum machine or off the keyboard, just whatever we could come up with, And it was the type of thing where, after school, people go to the park and hoop. We go to the house and make music, So that was kind of, again, you gravitate towards other people that's got those same interests. So that was how we met initially,
Talk about the Sam Harris and H-Town Records and that whole, little thing.
So we get to that point, and these are people that Face is meeting. So he's the one like, hey, I got somebody to put us in the studio, and it's Sam Harris. And I'm like, cool. Do we know what they have at the studio? He's like, well, they got, some kind of rolling drum machine. That's all I need to know. I know how to program all rolling drum machines. We'll be good. I grab 3 or 4 records, throw them in a bag, and bring them. Just like, well, I don't know what we're gonna do. We hadn't rehearsed the song. We hadn't talked about anything. He's just like, we got a studio. We got some time. Let's go. And so we get there, and I see he's got a rolling 707. I'm like, cool. I know how to program that. I just program a couple of different beats. I got a few records to scratch, and we just go. We press record and lay the beat. I lay some scratches. Face comes back and does some lyrics, and we're like, well, okay, we made a song. We did that, and then
when y'all do the record, does anything? Is this a deal at any point? Like,
nope. This is just, hey, I know a guy who got a studio. Let's just go.
And when I say deal, I don't mean record deal. I mean a deal like, oh, we got a song and our friends are listening and whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, you mean like, do we get a buzz off of it? Is it a thing
like, oh, they,
No, because it was such a new thing, and when we got the physical copy that I brought here tonight, I dare anybody to have a copy of this in Houston. And I'm saying that sarcastically because I hope somebody does, but I've never been able to find that somebody else has had a copy of this. It was just we made it, we pressed it, and forgot about it. We didn't really try to push it. I have no idea if it went into any stores. We didn't know about that. We were 14, 15. We had no idea about any of that. And I don't know what Sam and them knew to do. I think everybody was just trying to figure out, well, what do? We make a record? Do we just take it to the stores? You take it to the radio? We just didn't know what to do. And like I said, I got a copy just because I'm an archivist, but it wasn't even like it was a super hit record that we even liked that much. So we were just like, whatever. It wasn't even a big deal to us. We were more excited just to keep recording more songs and more songs and more songs. So that's Sam Harris, and a whole bunch of stuff happens in between, with me and 3-2. But so after we do that, me and Face kind of lose touch a little bit. I think he was moving back like to South Acres into that area.
But that's also where you first meet Lil Troy in that session.
That's when I meet Lil Troy and Beto and Sam Harris. I didn't know who the players were. I just kind of knew Sam a little bit more at that point because the 45 was kind of under his company, H-Town Records. So I knew him a little more. But yeah, Lil Troy was involved, but kind of just in the background. I think he was just kind of trying to learn the ropes. So me and Brad kind of stopped working on music. And then now we're getting in high school, so 86. It's now around 1986. So then I eventually meet 3-2, and that's when me and him start working. It's still kind of that same dynamic. Now Face is still at Willow for a little while. We're all at Willow. He's still there for a little while, but he's not in the neighborhood coming around like he used to. So I started getting cool with 3-2. And like I said, we became buddies and kind of were hanging out a little bit more than me and Face were because he was going to school. I would pick him up on the way to school. I had a car at the time, so I'd pick him up. We'd ride to school together. We'll, try to talk to girls together.
Y'all still doing regular
kid stuff.
And Face is kind of more gravitating to the streets and doing. That's when he's kind of leaning.
Well, he was just not around as much. I can't say what he was doing, but even if you say, okay, we're 13, 14, that's a big difference from 15, 16 developmentally. So all we're doing at 14 and going into 15 is just me and him just making songs. He rides his bike over and we make songs. That's it. But now I get a car, and so I'm driving to school and I don't see Brad as much. He's not coming over anymore. But now this guy, Chris, okay, me and him get, oh, you rap too? Okay, yeah, but I DJ and make beats and stuff. So now we become cool because of that. And of course, we make music together. So, we hang out a little bit, but we also are making music. And Troy comes back into the picture. And we're like, oh, okay, yeah, that guy's still around. Okay, well. Do
you remember how y'all made that connection again? Or?
I don't remember how we reconnected, to be honest. It may have been 3-2 staying more in touch with Brad than I was. And Sam Harris and all of them still doing stuff. I kind of, it ebbed and flowed. I would lose touch, but never 100% completely cut off with everybody. So we still would see Brad sometimes. So I think 3-2 and Face were probably more in touch than me and Face at that time. So when 3 is like, okay, yeah, you know, we got a situation we can go do with Lil Troy. I was like, yeah, okay, Lil Troy, Sam, I remember that. Let's go.
And this is just, the situation is just, hey, we got a spot to go record, basically.
It's just, hey, man, they said, yeah, studio time. You know, because I used to just open the yellow pages at that time, and younger viewers, you know, look up what the yellow pages are. But I would open up the yellow pages and look up recording studios, and I would just call, and we just didn't know what to do. I was like, you know, can I make an album? You know, there was a studio still in Houston. It's called Sugar Hill Records. Mm-hmm. Well, we think that's like the Sugar Hill gang. You call them up, can I come? You don't understand that they're not a record label. They're just a recording studio. So, you know, we're learning all of that, and you can never get in. They're like, oh, yeah, it's, you know, $35 an hour. What? Man, that's incredible. I can't pay that. That's So when somebody says they got studio time, you just go. We're like, all right, we'll be there. You know, tell us when to be there, we'll be there. So
and Troy had his whole thing set up like he's
out on Scott and Lydia. He's got Shortstop Records. He's got a building. And so we go out there and do lots of 4-track pre-production. So, you know, at that point, I had moved from drum machines into learning how to use the sampler. So all of my stuff is just loops, you know, finding different samples. And so, yeah, we spent a lot of time out there, you know, recording songs. And when he's eventually like, all right, we're ready to go to the studio, that's when we go out to Big Rich over here, Ultimate Sounds. And that's when I start to see Face again. I'm like, okay, yeah, what's up, man? You know, it's been a minute. It's probably, you know, been a year and a half or something, but that's a long time at that age. And so he books this, you know, the whole day of studio time, and it's for Brad, it's for me and Chris, and maybe one other group that would have been a group called A&M. That was on Shortstop. Yeah, those my dudes, man. Al Quar and Mike D. So when he gets in there, he's kind of like, well, okay, who's ready? And I was like, we're ready. You know, by this point, I had a sampler at the house, so I brought the sampler, and we laid the tracks down, and we, you know, it's all loops. It's the Look at Me Now, which is available as a 7-inch. You know, shout out to my man, the R, for putting that out a few years back. But that's the first song we laid down, and you know, it's smooth. You know, I got my track sheets, everything is done. So we do our song. And at this time, Brad is working with Mixmaster B. And I think B was still using like a drum machine. He was using he had a Yamaha drum machine. And I remember that after we laid the song, Brad was kind of like, yeah, I don't want this drum machine, you know, sound anymore. I want to beat like that. Like, you know, what y'all did. And Troy is like, blast, okay, well, what's up? Can you make it happen? And just like I got a bunch of records with me now, I had a crate with a bunch of records that I had brought. Because you go in, you don't exactly know what's going to happen. So you just always bring stuff. And I said, well, yeah, I do have another beat that I was going to make, but I didn't make it yet, you know. And even though I got my sampler there, we have no idea how to hook it up into, you know, this is like a real 48 track thing. And I was like, man, I just told the engineer, Richard, I said, okay, well, here's what it was. It's this loop, and it's this loop, and it's this loop. He has a sampler already hooked up, a Mirage. I don't know how to use it. So I'm like, can you do it? He samples it. And so the story of that is you got 3 different samples in the song. And that's, you know, we're talking about what turns into this record now. So there's 3 different samples in here. And what happened was Crazy C was in the studio, myself and Big Richard. So each of us had to hit a key with a sample on it and try to stay in beat with each other. And all of them aren't even the same length. So whoever's doing the drum, he's got to go like, you know, every 4 bars, but I'm doing the bass line, so I got to go every 8 bars, you know. C's doing, you know, another little part. So we just sat there and kind of pieced it together, and it worked. You know, it sounded kind of dope. You know, it had a little edge to it, you know, based on the other stuff that I was doing. So, yeah, and then, you know, the rest is history. He went in the booth and murdered it. And I was, you know, I went in there and did some background vocals, you know, a couple of, you know, lines that he had that somebody else was supposed to say. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. You know, we're all into it. We're having a great time at this point. So it's like a party in there. We're loving it.
Did y'all know, like, oh, this is the shit, like, after he did that record?
No, because I was more focused on 3-2, the Private Identity. We were trying to formate a group called Private Identity. So I was really more focused on that. I thought the song was cool. You know, I liked the beat. You know, I was like, so this is jamming, you know. But, you know, DJ Action wrote a song called Scarface, and then, you know, that was the end of it, you know. So I didn't think too much about it at that time because, again, you listen to both of those dudes. They're both incredible lyricists and writers. So I'm not at all, you know, thinking that one thing is better than the other. I'm like, man, all this shit is great. So, you know, yeah, had no idea. But we knew that record was coming out first. So we were a little excited about that, and, you know, we go do the photo shoot and eventually get the records back. You know, me and 3-2 get a box of records, like 25. We at school handing them out and stuff, you know, big Willie style on campus, trying to, you know.
It looked like something.
Yeah, because we were like, hey, yeah, that's us. We're on there, you know, check this out. So, you know, that was the story of doing that, and then, you know, working with Lil Troy. And then I went on to do songs for A&M as well, you know. So I was just in there like, yeah, I can make beats for everybody. Let's go, you know.
I'm gonna come back to the Scarface record, but you said Crazy C. Talk about Crazy C and how important he was to your development. Like,
he was huge to my development. I am certain that I would not have been anywhere close to as successful as I was as a DJ in particular, but even on the production side. C was maybe a couple years older than me, but the younger you are, the bigger a difference that makes. Like, if I'm 14 and he's 16, he's got a car, I don't. You know, you saw stuff like that, you know. So when I'm DJing, before I'm old enough to drive, Crazy C was a DJ too, and he was good, but he was so generous. He would pick me up. He would borrow his dad's truck, pick me up, take me to go rent some speakers from Evans Music on Westheimer, drive me to the party, MC with me, because I did not talk on the mic in the first years of DJing, and, you know, bring me back home. The next day, pick me up to return the rental speakers. He's doing all, and I might have bought him some Whataburger, you know, because we were kids. I'm not even thinking about whatever.
What all you're really doing.
Yeah, well, I'm not thinking of what he's doing for me, and he's probably not thinking of it. Just like, okay, yeah, I got you, man. Yeah, I'll come get you. So, you know, on the DJ side, you know, he took me so many places and you know, got me literally where I needed to go. And even on the production side, you know, a lot of the stuff, he's older. He knows more people than me. He'll be like, hey, Blast, I'm working on this project. Give me a beat tape. Or, production's already done. Hey, Blast, I'm doing these songs. Come add some scratches. He always took me along with him. And so I'm forever indebted to him for opening all those doors. And just being a cool dude. Like, hey, man, I can do this myself. Why don't you come do the scratches? And because, like I said earlier, when you get in producer mode, you're not thinking about DJ side. He's more on the producer side. Like, you come be the DJ role for this project. Awesome. So, you know, all of that stuff, Wu-Tang, Big Mello, Outkast, Goody Mob. I mean, stuff that I know I just won't even remember. Rakim stuff, you know, just so many things that I probably can't remember them all that he brought me in on, you know. When he starts working with Rap A Lot with Big Mello, now I get to start doing work for hire, production, and, you know, so I'm all over a bunch of Rap A Lot stuff too. Raheem, Willie D, you know, lots of stuff is unreleased, so I don't want to call names and then somebody go look it up and be like, wait, you're not on there. But, you know, there was songs that we did for people that may have never gotten released, but all of that was Crazy C, you know, bringing me along for the ride, you know, spreading the love. So.
How did you end up in the shortstop fold? Like, oh, that was just y'all, like, that was at the time, that's where everybody was going, kind of.
You say, how did C end up in it? I think it was just kind of this big effort of, you know, these guys from Mo City were kind of a collective, all working on stuff at the same time. I don't remember exactly what Simon was working on to have been in the studio with us at that time. There may be yet another group that I'm not remembering that maybe I didn't do anything with. So, but he was in the studio So because he was in the studio, like, okay, well, you're part of it now, you know. And again, he was one of the guys that was known in Mo City. So when you're coming and getting this collective, it's only 2 or 3 people that's making beats. There's only 3 or 4 guys that say they're rappers, you know. There's only 3 or 4 guys that say they're DJs. So you just kind of get the whole collective and see, okay, well, what can you do? What can you do? So he was there, and, you know, that was pretty much it, how he became involved. Now, as far as I know, he may have only been involved with this particular, you know, 12-inch. I don't remember that he did too much more stuff for Shortstop after that, so.
I mean, really, I mean, a lot of y'all kind of after this was kind of like the beginning of the end almost, you know what I mean? Like beginning of like y'all getting into the game, but also like the end of like this way y'all starting at it at Shortstop, because Troy goes to jail, Face goes to Rap Lot, you know, history goes on to be made the way that it went. Yeah. But the record ends up getting reproduced.
Yes.
At Rap Lot.
Yes. The record gets remade, and that was a hard life lesson for me to learn for that particular song getting remade, because, you know, this is 87, maybe 88. I don't remember what year that Rap A Lot album eventually came out, but, you know, I basically gave up what the samples were. Samples was a guard, you know, you play a record and put a cover over the label so people couldn't see. That was your uniqueness. You know, that was your individuality. I found this, nobody knows what it is. I just told everybody what all of it was, thinking, well, you know, maybe I'll get credit, or who knows. I probably wasn't even thinking anything to even say the phrase get credit.
Just being a good guy.
I was just being a nice guy. Like, oh yeah, you want to know what it is? It's La Pamplemousse is the sample. Ashley's Roach Clip is the beat. Syl Johnson is this other sample. You know, I just told them everything, and when the album came out, I was like, well, wait a minute. I never heard back from anybody about this. They just remade my song. And they added a couple more samples on top of it.
Scarface,
James Brown. They added the James Brown Hot Pants. Because I didn't have that on the original. But I was like, man, that's my song. And, you know, what do you do? You know, and Troy, like you said, Troy went to jail. So there was nothing legal that could happen because I didn't own the rights to the record. Lil Troy owned the rights to the 12-inch. So if somebody was going to try to say, hey, man, we need a cut of this, or we need some credit or whatever, he was the person that could do it, and he was not available. So that was pretty much just the end of that story. So, you know, that was it. Life lesson learned. Don't give up the info without the proper business being handled first. So.
Yeah.
But look, the thing that saved us was having the 12-inch with, you know, our pictures on the cover. You know, we like, hey, there's the proof. You know, this came out 2-3 years before it was remade. But, you know, music industry 101, man. Yeah, you learn and move forward, you know.
But at the same time, though, you're still like coming up as a DJ in the city and shit.
I'm slowly starting to DJ parties, you know. And it starts in the neighborhood. By this point, we lived in Hunters Glen 4, and they had a pool in the neighborhood. And so I was the guy that would always ride my bike to the pool with the radio strapped to the handlebars, with whatever tape I made, whether it's a demo or a mix or whatever. And so eventually somebody, you know, people would throw a party at the pool and ask me to DJ. And I'd be like, yeah, okay, I think I can do that. But I think it really picked up at one of the school dances at Willow Ridge, probably in 88. So much stuff is happening in a short time span, but probably in 88, maybe 89. I think it's 88, where we're having a dance and they hire a DJ company. And, you know, it's not somebody that represents us. So it's, you know, they got the sound, lights and everything, but they're not playing, you know, what we want to hear. And so one of my buddies, shout out to Blaylock, my boy Blaylock, was like, man, I'm going to go ask the sponsor, can we go and get your records and you play the stuff that we really want to hear? So he goes ask her, she goes to ask the DJ, and the DJs are like, yes, please, because they're bombing. You know, we're in the Run DMC, but they're playing like You Be Illin' or It's Tricky. And we're like, nah, it's don't you have Peter Piper? My Adidas? You know, you're in the right area. But so They say yes, I go home, get the records, and then that's when it really kicked off for me. Okay, like, yeah, I can actually do parties. Because that really was I never wanted to do parties. I just wanted to scratch, make beats, scratch over the beats. I didn't want to actually DJ and play continuous music. But that night I was like, okay, well, I think I can do this again, you know. And then again, like I say, everything was a real slow process, but that's where it probably kicked off, doing the party at Willow Ridge. So
Man, okay, so do you end up going? I mean, of course you end up going over there with Rap A Lot, but like, what's your foot into Rap A Lot?
Well, Scarface 12-inch is making a buzz in the city. We're like, okay, yeah, people outside of Willow Ridge know this record. This is pretty cool, you know. So at some point, Troy lets us know, hey, Rap A Lot wants to come over and have a meeting with us. So we have this huge meeting at Shortstop, the location out there, and it's all of us on the cover plus a few extra people that were affiliated, and it's all these Rap A Lot people, Big Chief in particular. I remember Big Chief because Big Chief is a presence wherever he goes. He doesn't do anything, but you know, you just see him like, man, this dude looks real serious. So you know, it was Big Chief and some more of the guys from Rap A Lot, and they just kind of, you know, lay out, you know, that they want to bring this project over to them. They want to sign us and, you know, do some stuff with the collective, because we're basically like NWA at that point. If you look at the cover, we're emulating. That's kind of what we're doing. And just like that same Dope Man cover, if you see the Dope Man cover for NWA, it's 3 or 4 groups, but they come together as NWA. So that's us. It's A&M, it's Private Identity, and it's DJ Action. So, you know, they were trying to do, if I remember correctly, offer us like a package deal. And so everybody had to make a decision. And the person who just jumped, like the next day, was Brad. Action was like, man, I'm going. I got nothing to lose. So, you know, everybody else, we were a little more hesitant because, you know, they gave us a contract. You know, it was like 20 pages. We were like, man, this is for real. You know, we don't know what to do. We don't know anything about attorneys. We don't know anything about any of this stuff. So we were all kind of apprehensive, like, well, we'll just stay and keep making records here. We just made a record. Let's keep doing. You know, we knew Rap A Lot was the real deal, but we felt like, okay, we can do it too. We'll just stay with Troy and do it. So Brad goes and signs a Rap A Lot, and then Troy ends up going to jail. So now we're all like, oh, well, now we're stuck with nothing. We were rolling with Shortstop, but there is no Shortstop without Lil Troy.
So at that time, before Lil Troy goes to jail, it's basically, okay, Face signs and we're gonna follow over there. Like it was.
Well, you know, so much time in between. He says he's gonna go, but it's not like they put out a record, you know, 3 months later. I don't even remember what the time frame might have been, but I'm still working on 3-2 stuff. You know, I'm working on A&M stuff. I'm doing other projects that, you know, weren't as known as that, but I'm still doing lots of stuff. I'm doing my stuff, Nodos, you know, whatever. I'm working on all this different material. So it wasn't a big deal that we all didn't go. We were like, okay, we're all doing what we're doing, so it doesn't really matter. It wasn't till some time later we were like, oh shit, he's in the Ghetto Boys. You know what? You know, they made a new Ghetto Boys because, you know, his version of the Ghetto Boys is maybe the second lineup of the Ghetto Boys. So it was a little while later before we saw all of that happening. And again, we thought we were straight staying with Lil Troy. So, you know, stuff happened. There's no more Shortstop, and the Rap A Lot thing. And, you know, they got the main guy. So it was, you know, that was it for that moment. Slowly, many of us found some sort of a lane or a role at Rap A Lot. I only ever did work for hire as a producer and a DJ, and, you know, background vocals on different albums, because when you go in the studio, you know, we're working on the Willie D album. Okay, well, I know I'm doing some cuts and you know, adding little vocal samples, but we need a reporter. Okay, I'll go do the voice. You know, it would be lots of work for hire stuff like that. You know, doing. I think for me, Raheem the Vigilante was the first Rap A Lot project I worked on. So I produced 3 songs on that album, and did voices. One of the coldest songs out of Houston to me is one of his songs, and not because I produced it, just because he's great. Called "The Invincible." It's the title track of the album, and man, he's just hot fire from the first bar to the last bar. It's an incredible diss record. He's just dissing everybody. But I do the reporter's voice at the beginning because he's like, yeah, man, we need a reporter, man. You got to come do the reporter voice. And I was like, yeah, I can do that, This is Phineas T. Fogbottom from Channel Zero News. I was like, yeah, I can go in there and, be silly with it. And so, yeah, that would be the stuff that somebody would just say, hey, man, we got this project. But again, Crazy C, that would be him. Hey, man, they asking me to do this Raheem album. You got some stuff? Yeah, man, here, beat tape to Raheem. Picks the songs, and that's it. We just go and do it.
When you were doing the work for hires, were you like up on game at that point to know like, I'm just doing this and like there may be money made behind this? But
we knew about stuff at that time, but you didn't have a lot of leverage to negotiate. I was cool with the deal that they were doing. They were paying an upfront amount for a beat, and then I got one royalty check. I was like, I didn't even expect that. Just because, I know we're just starting off, you don't have the power to say, well, no, I need this, I need publishing, I need that. They're like, dude, it's 50 people knocking on the door at this company ready to do this. So my main thing was just make sure I get my credits on the label, make sure I get and they would, to the best of the ability at the time. I think on the Raheem, one of them might be mixed up, but we knew a little more, but still not everything. So, yeah, like I said, they gave me 2 checks, so I was cool. Like, all right, this is even better, So,
man, what was? Do you remember like what the tracks were going for at that time?
I mean, you might get $500, which was like great.
Yeah, that time
that was big money. 1990, 91. I was like, yeah, that's great. Just for this making this beat. I don't even because then I'm like, wait a minute, I don't get that much to DJ a party. I'm getting more for this. I just made this in my bedroom. So you're like, man, this is awesome. They were handling the business as far as us. I mean, there was a studio that used to be in Missouri City right at 2234, right before South Main, and it's not there anymore, but they just rented it out like weeks at a time. Rap-A-Lot would rent it out and be like, all right, go in, this 2-week span, do the Raheem album. All right, now come back, this 2 weeks we're doing a Willie D album. Now come back, we're doing a Choice album. It would just be like, just come on back, come back and contribute whatever you can contribute. So that was a very fun period.
But at the same time, too, though, this is when y'all over at 1590, right?
1590 for me starts in 1992.
Okay, so maybe a year or two after that.
Yeah. So this Rap-A-Lot stuff that I'm doing is 91, and the next year I get on the radio. So again, a lot of stuff happening in a short span. So I'm doing the Rap-A-Lot, work for hire, those few projects that I did work on. I'm working on my No-Dos stuff, and again, still I'm working on Royal Flush material for them. And yeah, now I'm DJing more and more parties. I'm in college in 1990, so now I'm officially DJing stuff. And then that's how I get spotted by Jammin' Jimmy Olsen, was the big DJ at the time. And he was like, hey man, we're putting together this 24-hour rap station on 1590 AM. Would you be interested? I was like, hell yeah. And so they initially brought in, and it's like literally 15 mixers. I didn't know at the time, but it was going to be a 24-hour rap station. And so they just got a squad, and it's like me, Aggravated, Domination, Babyface, kid named Baby C, OG from OG Style was DJing. It was just all these DJs, and they would just rotate through us, live. You had to come in there live. So I got to finish a party and then get up there at 3 a.m. and just be barely awake. But I got to mix from 3 to 6.
I was doing like 8-hour sets or something crazy.
It would happen like that because what would happen? See, during certain parts of the day, they would do a simulcast. Like if Magic 102 is doing a mix, Well, they're just going to simulcast that on the 1590. But when Magic 102 goes back to regular, then somebody got to keep mixing on 1590. So you may mix from 12 to 3 on Magic 102. Now they go back to regular programming. Well, there's nobody coming in 1590 till 6. So you just got to keep on mixing another 3 hours until the 6 a.m. jock, the morning jock, shows up. So very frequently you would end up doing a 6-hour shift. But I think I did a 12-hour shift on Magic 102 once during like, I don't know if it was a beach party weekend or something, but I did noon to midnight on one fateful Saturday. And so that was probably the longest shift I did. I mean, you know, you do that, they hit the commercials, you lay down, take a cat nap on the floor, get back up. All right, we're back, you know, yeah, so, you know, we would put in some hours up there, man.
Dude, you talking about a grind.
Because it was all live. For the most part, they really discouraged pre-recorded stuff. So you just had to be there and just had to do it. You know?
And that's one of the greatest, like me growing up in Houston, I always say that particular station is one of the best radio stations I heard growing up.
It was dope, man. It was dope. I mean, both of those stations were, you know, when it came to hip hop, they were dope. But yeah, 1590 was just bananas.
The thing with 1590 was they would play certain things that you weren't going to hear on 102.
You had to, because it's 24-hour rap. So you had to just play everything. What shit? Okay, what's this new record? Put it on. You know, they got a clean version? Yeah, put it on. We got to fill up. You know, you got to fill up a 24-hour period. And on the AM station, you know, we had a lot more flexibility. They're not necessarily as concerned about the ratings as they are on the FM side. 'Cause that's the big money maker. So over there, yeah, we could just kind of play whatever just to, you know, because you got to fill in the time. So,
yeah, it was a lot of Cube, a lot of Short. I remember.
Man, it was just,
man,
if it was a rap record, we were going to play it on 1590 because we just, like I said, we had to fill in all that time. There wasn't that much, you know, stuff where you were like, okay, you know, it wasn't like now where there's just 1,000 new songs, you know, in a month. Back then, we were like, man, you got to wait for the physical vinyl to get to you. So you're like, man, what's this? Oh, yeah, like you said, New Too Short. Okay, Prince Rakeem, yeah, throw that on. What's this? Oh, yeah, put that on. King T, rock that, throw that in. You know, you just had to play everything to keep it going for 24 hours. So it was an awesome experience while it lasted. So,
And that's when you first meet Ag. And y'all, you know.
That's now I remember meeting Ag. I know he tells a story, and I probably told it on the original podcast, that you're going back to like 1990, 91 when he's DJing with the Convicts.
Y'all should be crossing up at Rapper.
We crossed paths when he was with the Convicts. He just doesn't remember it as well. So me and 3-2 still buddies. You know, even though he's working with the Convicts, he's doing his thing. But when they're about to get on the road, they're like, you know, we got to make a show tape. 3-2's like, I know who to do it. You know, I got a guy. So, you know, he's like, hey, can you put together our show tape for the Convicts? I was like, yeah. He's like, you know, they weren't out yet. So he's like, it's this new thing, blah, 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 this is what it is. Can you do it? Yeah, come on through. So unbeknownst to me, the Rap-A-Lot posse is coming. I'm thinking it's just him and maybe Big Mike. Everybody show Big Chief. They're coming to my mama's house. We're in this nice, you know, middle-class area. And they're cool, but they roll up in blacked out Suburbans. You ain't never seen nothing like that, though. People are like, you know, it looks like it's the FBI pulling up on the house, and it's like 3 Suburbans rolling up. And as I recall, Aggravated was there because I had to go outside and meet the Suburbans like, yo, everybody can't come in. It's my mom's house, you know. Just like three or four people could come in. And I remember that Ag was with him, but he didn't come in. I met him. He was like, yeah. They were like, yeah, this is going to be our show, DJ. I was like, yeah, what's up, dude? You know, you want to? He's like, nah, I'm good. Go ahead. So we probably met for like 2 minutes. But I remembered that he came with them because they're all getting together practicing the show. So everybody's there. Seemed like the whole company was there except for Jay Prince. Seemed like everybody else was there. Big Chief again. I'm like, oh shit, I remember this dude from Shortstop.
Now he in my house.
Yeah, have a seat on the bed, man. You're welcome. Come on, you need whatever Big Chief want, you got it. And he was always cool, but that's when I remember meeting Ag at first. And so then when we get to 1590, I was like, man, I know you. We've met before. And it probably took a while for me to figure out what it was. But then when he at some point would have told me, yeah, I used to DJ for the Convicts, I was like, that's what it was. You came to my mom's house with them out in Mo City. You just, you know, it was so long ago, you know, a couple of years ago, where you may not remember, but you came out there. But we really met officially, I guess, at the radio station, because now we're working together. Now we're, you know, actually interacting with each other purposely up there. So, you know, 1590 is a thing, and it eventually they get to the point where they're like, yeah, you know, the company's gonna sell this station, you know. So, you know, now you got 15 DJs. They're like, well, we're gonna put some of y'all on 102. So they keep some of us for 102, like Domination, OG Style, Babyface, Aggravated, and me. They got like 5 dudes. And we still got RP Cola, who was there. He's just not doing the nighttime. He's only doing a 5 o'clock mix now. So he's big time. He's just doing a prime time slot every day. So eventually they start to whittle that down even more. And so it ends up where it's just me and Aggravated left. Even RP Cola was gone. So now I take over the 5 o'clock, which was a huge thing. To me, that was like taking over American Bandstand from Dick Clark or something. He was such a household figure for having done that the whole time I was growing up. You know, I'm hearing him do this mix, and now I'm doing it. But at nighttime, it was just me and Aggravated. Somebody on who's available on Friday. If I'm free and not doing a party, then I do Friday night. He do Saturday, or vice versa, however we need to do it. And that era was so cool. You know, it was a huge deal because, you know, we're still in the golden era of hip hop. You know, we're in '92, so we're still like, okay, the second Tribe album is coming out. You know, Wu-Tang is about to come out. Nas is about to come out. Jay-Z is about to come out. Tupac is starting to become a star. All this, Biggie is about to come out. All this stuff is happening, you know, while we're there. And it was just huge. You know, at that time, we would attend the music meetings, but they would really be like, well, you guys, we got you because what you're doing in the streets already. He's DJing a bunch of parties. I'm DJing a bunch of parties. So they were like, just do what y'all do. Just keep it clean and do what y'all do. So we didn't have any playlists. They weren't telling us what to do. We were just able to use our ear and say, you know, he told a story. He always tells a story, you know, like Blast was one of the first people to play Nas on the radio, on commercial radio in Houston, you know, on a major station. And I just remember telling him, hey, man, you need to listen to this. And we would do that. You know, I'd get some records and be like, oh, man, you might want to listen to this. And he would do the same. So it was a real cool, very fun, and extremely creative time period for us because we could just do whatever we wanted to do on the radio, you know. So
and y'all still hadn't really teamed up yet. Y'all just kind of running in the same mix.
We had not teamed up at all. We were just real cool because we were the last two. You know, we're the last two people on the situation. So we got cool for that reason, but we had not teamed up DJing. Teaming up DJing probably came in about 1995 maybe, and it was just a strategy that was developed because one of my fraternity brothers approached me like, hey, man, we should start throwing parties. And I said, well, actually, I already kind of started throwing parties with this other guy, but come on in, you know, more people working on it would be even better. Because, you know, you had to do the hand-to-hand combat flyers. You had to really put in footwork. So I was like, okay, let's do it. So it's the three of us. And he's like, well, what do you think, you know, what else do we need to do to solidify this strategy? And we said, well, there's this other dude that does a whole lot of parties just like I do a whole lot of parties. If we bring him in, we're untouchable. Nobody can go against us. You know, we basically were creating a monopoly. And so we created a monopoly. And, you know, we had the first company was called Urban Network, and then it eventually morphed into the Forum. You know, we started doing as college parties, but as we got older, then we started doing, you know, older parties or whatever age we were. We would do that kind of a format. So we were a team at that point. You know, it was like, you know, we would call it Operation Steamroller. You're not going to have a party against the Forum. You're not going to do it. You're not going to survive it. It's not going to happen. And people would do it. We wouldn't say nothing. It was more like the results speak for themselves. Don't have a party when Ag and Blast are having a party. It's not going to work. But the name Hollywood Boys came later. And you know, he told a story, but yeah, it was supposed to be a diss. Like a sly, oh, y'all think y'all Hollywood, huh? And I was like, okay, I'll be your Huckleberry. That's you gonna call us Hollywood? We're gonna be Hollywood. Because another element kind of at that time was we weren't doing some of the stereotypical hip hop things that people would expect of a DJ. We weren't wearing jerseys every day with, with the Timberland and stuff. We were wearing polos and Cole Haans and polo boots. We were still a little preppy because we both kind of had that, we were like the Huxtables, that's the style everybody was. And so we were like, okay, I know I'm not rocking the Oilers jersey, but watch me get on the cut, And I always kind of like that juxtaposition. You don't look like you can get down. Oh shit, you can get down. So that's what it was. Hatter and J Mac was like, oh yeah, y'all. When we went in that day, and I kind of was just being a character. Like he said, we always had the Ray-Bans and stuff. Y'all just in here Hollywood, and so that's when I just started doing like, in my mind, I'm doing like something Prince would do, like, whispering. You tell him this. I'm not even addressing anybody today. I'm not on the clock till whatever. You know what I'm saying? We're just being silly. And that's what had happened. And we just took it and ran with it because we didn't have a name at that point. Had never thought about it. Oh, okay, yeah, there we go. The branding, we were going to start doing some branding now. So that's kind of how that happened. But we were already working together, kind of with the Operation Steamroller thing. So.
You said Hatter. Talk about when y'all did the Hanging remix.
Man, so the Hanging record. So when Hatter gets in Houston, maybe around 93, I think. And so I'm already on the radio. So, I'm one of the people that's there to welcome him to the city. I think I drove him around, took him to the gallery and stuff, just kind of showed him around a little bit. And, when he says, that he's a rapper also, he kind of wants to work on a project. I was like, cool. He knew I made beats because this record was probably hanging up in the mix room at some point, the Scarface record. So, he knows that I'm into production. Crazy C is still my man. So like, yeah, you gotta meet this dude, Simon too, and when we start working on the projects, initially I did the original beat for that song and it got replaced. Crazy C remade a beat and did it. But he just had this great idea, like, man, I want to get all these iconic people in Houston and put them on one record. So that's what I want to do. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So when we go in, we lay the song down, the instrumental down.
Just sound like y'all had a great time.
We had a great time. And we laid the instrumental down, and then we go in to say, okay, we're going to do the vocals. So I don't know who he's going to get. But he's like, well, Blast, you got to get on the record too, man. I was like, I don't even really rap, but okay. Hip hop, I do everything. I can do all of it. It may not be the best, but I can, if you put me on the spot, I can do any of the pillars of hip hop. And so I was like, well, cool, I'll be there. And when I went today, it was like the group session because his idea was he wants to have it like a party record. Like if you listen to like Marvin Gaye, Got to Give It Up, you hear in the background a consistent party atmosphere, people talking, laughing, joking. He wanted to do that. So we did that. But you got to have a room full of people to do that. So he's got it's me, Lonnie Mac, it's him, it's this dude Red Cess. It's all these different people are there.
Is Big Mello the day you do it?
He's not there. No, not today. Not this day. Because we're in there really just through the background vocals. J Mac is there, and probably again maybe a couple other people that I'm not remembering. Enough people to do that party atmosphere background. And he's like, okay, well, Blast, let's just go, man. Just, let's do your part. And so I was one of the few people that actually freestyled. And I'm just, making stuff up. And
talking shit, man. I forgot what you said.
I'm talking a little bit of stuff, but the thing that stuck out to me, and if you go back and listen to the song, you will notice this moment. There's a part where I say, I'm talking about a sound in the headphones is messing with me. Because in the headphone monitors, another track was playing that wasn't part of the song. It was like we were recording over a previously used reel, because them tapes are expensive. You ain't finna just take a new one. And they forgot to punch off the old track. So we hear it all of a sudden. It's like, clack, 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 whatever it is. Everybody hears it. But I start rapping about it. And Hatter's like, damn. You hear him on the record say like, damn. Like, he just rapping about everything. But in my mind, that's hip hop. This is a freestyle. I'm talking about what's in the room. Lonnie Mac is to my left. My name is Blaster. Middle name is Jam. First name is Def. That's the way I represent. on the mic freestyling. I don't have to pay rent in the studio because I'm on a contract. I was under contract for the No Do's album with the record label in that studio. So that's why he was just like, damn, you just pulling, all this shit is like real shit that you're talking about this happening. And so, you know, it was hella fun. And then, you know, Lonnie Mac does his part, and we had a great time. That was a great and that session, I don't even know how long it took him to finish that record, because, you know, you got to get 3-2 in there. You got to get Big Mello. You got to get all these people scheduled, OG style. You got to get OG in there. So all of those guys weren't there at the same time, you know. And I remember when I heard the finished record, I was kind of like puffing my chest and would be like, man, I'm the only one that actually freestyle, man. All y'all dudes, you can hear it. It's y'all like dudes in there with written verses coming in with printed papers and stuff. So I just went in there and wrecked the mic freestyle, man. I said, yeah, throw the beat on. I'm rapping about stuff in the room. So that's what it was. You know, I was down with Hatter for, you know, each one of those albums. You know, I would do a few tracks. So
like I did to Say What You Want to Say remix with all y'all.
Yeah, now, you know, that was an interesting story because Crazy C actually did that beat. And again, it's Hatter's idea, because he's got the regular song Say What You Want to Say, but he wants to do this bounce remix. And he's like, all right, you know, now for this one, I want all the radio DJs come and do a verse. So we go and everybody does it. We do our verses, and for whatever reason, I'm the last one. I got to be the one to bring it home. And you know, me and Ag are pretty popular at this time. You even hear like J Mac is rapping about me in his verse. He's talking about me in his verse. So we were pretty popular in the streets and on the radio. And so we do that song, and then Hatter's like, Blaster, I want you to come back and do another version of the song with just me and you. And I'm gonna get Juvenile on it too. You know, he said he'll do a verse. And so I was like, okay, well, what you want to do? He's like, man, we going in on haters in general. Let's just go in, lean on it. And so I wrote a verse that was kind of, you know, super ugly. And we never got the verse from Juvenile, so that never came out. And so when he didn't get the verse from Juvenile, Hatter scrapped the whole project. He just shelved it for I don't know how long. It probably was a couple years. But I eventually went to him like, Hatter, I need to release this, man. This needs to come out. This is kind of a dope project. We need to put this out. And he was like, Blaz, I really don't want to do it, but you can license it. And so I took over the licensing for that project. I pressed it as a 12-inch, pressed some CD singles and put it out. And it kind of became a little sensation on the radio, even to the point where, you know, we got to perform it live once at the Roxy. The Roxy on Wednesdays.
That run lasted forever, first of all.
Steve Nice was like Funk Flex at the Tunnel. He owned that club. And so that was one of the only times I could go somewhere where I didn't have to DJ, because it was on a Wednesday night. So we would go there. Everybody would be there. Everybody who was anybody was always at the Roxy. And so, you know, I get the wax pressed up. Of course, I'm giving it to all the DJs. And we're all there because we're all still working at the station. We're all still always out. We're all there. And Steve Nice is like, man, he just starts talking shit on the mic. Like, man, we got all the box mixers here, man. The all-star mixers in the bill. You know, he's hyping it up. He's like, man, we got to do this, y'all. So basically, Steve Nice kind of just puts us on the spot. I was like, shit, give me the mic. Let's go. And so one time only, we performed that song live at the Roxy. Man, you know, I wish
nobody has it.
I wish it was camera phone era, but yeah, it doesn't exist anywhere. But we did it that one time, man, and it was just so much fun, man. I mean, like you said, all this stuff was just so much fun. We were just having a ball doing this stuff, man.
I mean, bro, you really got to, and we ain't even talked about the Kappa, but I mean, all of the things you got to do in your career was like when it was the shit, like being on the radio. When man. Not to say being on the radio right now ain't the shit, but like back then. Like it just felt like, you know, it was bigger. You know what I mean? It wasn't as many outlets like now. You have radio, you have podcast, you have satellite, you have whatever. Back then, it was like you listen to the radio or you have the album.
There was filters and hoops to jump through. So if you got on the radio, that was a huge deal at that point. If you had a record press, that was a huge deal. And so everything was such a big deal because a lot of it was the first generation of it happening here. You know, the first generation of rap music coming on records in Houston, I was part of it. You know, the first generation of rap music being played on the radio, I got to be part of that in the golden era, no less, with all of those great artists that we named earlier, I mean, you know, these are all a lot of groundbreaking moments, one after the other, and you don't realize it at the time because it's normal. Like, oh, that's, you know, Aggravated said something about that, you know, well, that's just what it's supposed to be like, you know, that's what y'all are supposed to do. We don't realize how big or how epic some of this stuff is until looking back on it, like, man, that was an incredible journey that we were fortunate enough to be a part of. So
epic. I mean, and now, you know, we talking about now we are officially, we into the Hollywood Boys era.
Right.
Y'all the Hollywood Boys, y'all got albums, y'all in Cancun, and y'all in over here in Texas Relays, and just taking over Rap City.
We're on Rap City. We're on Continental Airlines doing a syndicated show on the airlines. I mean, we're doing all kind of stuff. I recently came across the original studio session, Pro Tools session of, I had forgotten I did the hold music for Suave House Records when they had an office and, you know, a building with an office and everything. When you call and they put you on hold, hey, now you're listening to the brand new Tila, blah, 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 whatever it was. I had forgotten. We did so much stuff like that, so much behind the scenes stuff that, you know, we would just forget about it, you know? So yeah, you know, doing all of those things, and somebody be like, hey man, you know, I heard y'all over here, or I saw your name on this album. Like, oh yeah, I did do something on this album, you know, I forgot about that, you know. So we were just doing all kinds of stuff, you know. I know I'm missing like 10 important things.
No,
probably
let's run down because I talked about it with Ed, you know what I'm saying, the Rap City thing.
The Rap City thing. So one of the things throughout my career that always kept me going was, you start in Mo City, and then somebody moves from Mo City to Houston. So now they bring me to do the stuff in Houston. Somebody moves from Houston to LA. Now they bring, so that's kind of what would happen. You know, some guys from Houston started working at BET.
This is Boomtown and all of them.
This is my man Cliff, Dr. Teeth. These were the main guys.
Dr. Teeth, not Boomtown. I'm sorry, Dr. Teeth.
Yeah, Dr. Teeth and my man Cliff. They started working at BET, and they was like, yo, we got to bring these Texas guys up, man. You got to bring these guys up. Got to bring them up. We doing these guest DJs. Yeah, these New York dudes, that's cool. We got to bring our Texas guys up. I always say Texas, because at that point, we were bigger than just Houston. So we were like, yeah, you got to bring these Texas guys up. And so, you know, they brought us up, and, you know, we just went up there and you know, we're like, okay, we got to let these people know, you know, to quote Andre 3000, you know, like, Houston got something to say, man. We're here, you know, we're part of this thing too, and we know you're not seeing us that much.
And represented sweaters and came back
with
we went the next time. I mean, it was, you know.
Yeah, we went. I went to, you know, I was a student at U of H, so those are University of Houston shirts, but they was cool. They just said Houston only, and I was like, this is perfect. You know, I get you a blue and I'll wear the red one. I was a cap at the time, so I was like, I'll rock the red one, you know, and but then going into that, so we're already starting to do the Cancun stuff. So we're already kind of big, you know, popular DJs. So the FUBU stuff was, I don't know if we had already done an event for them, but somehow we had a relationship with Damon, one of the founders of FUBU. And he was like, yo, I heard y'all are going to do this thing on BET. Let me send y'all some gear. It's not out yet, but let me, you know, I'm gonna overnight y'all some stuff. We was like, yeah, you know, FUBU's huge. So at that time, they might have only had like New York, LA. So we were getting the first Dirty South, Houston, you know, edition. I still have those jerseys too. I still got everything. I still have the hat that I wore on that Scarface 12-inch. I keep everything. But
I ain't gonna lie, so bro. When I met you later, like later in life, because I'm that guy, like out of my crew. You know what I'm saying? I keep everything. And I used to be like, man, what? Like, I guess this is just what I do. But then I start meeting people like you, and other people like, oh, I found my tribe.
Yes, yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I have all of this stuff still, man. I still have the test pressings of this 12, man. I keep everything, man. But yeah, so that's how the FUBU thing started going. The connection with them. So then they decide FUBU's gonna start doing events, but they're hosting them Saint Martin, you know, Saint Tropez. They're hosting them out of the country type stuff, Dominican Republic. So they're bringing me and Ag the DJ. So you know,
is this Cancun or where is this?
No, Cancun is separate. FUBU is doing stuff. Cancun is doing, the Cancun people, that's called the All-Star Fiesta. Shout out to Chris Latimer up in somewhere in New York now still, I think. He was the guy putting that together, so he's bringing us for that. FUBU's doing stuff, so we're going to do the FUBU, because they're constantly launching the new items, and so I think that may have been Saint Martin where we went and did the FUBU party, and that's a core hip hop memory for me doing that, because those were industry parties. So LL is the spokesman, one of the spokespeople for FUBU. So everybody's there though. LL, Slick Rick, Dougie Fresh, everybody is there. Run DMC, everybody's there. And the memory is I'm doing my standard old school set that I always do, but the people are here. So I'm playing Run DMC and they're here. So it's just a freaky feeling like, wait a minute, man, but when I played I'm Bad by LL, he kind of gets, he's into it. We're partying because it's industry, so they can be themselves. He starts acting out the video, and I probably almost started crying from excitement.
He did the My Head's Like a Short One?
Yes, and I was probably close to tears, like, I can't believe this is happening, that I'm a part of this. And so I tell Aggravated to take over. It's me, Aggravated, and Red Alert are DJing. And I tell Ag to take over, and I just run back to the hotel to get the camera, because I'm like, I can't keep going. I got to get some of this. So I go back, I run, and so I'm running back with the camera recording, and it's like Blair Witch Project or something. I'm running with the camera, I'm out of breath, like LL was dancing. It's just a crap. I have never uploaded it, but I need to upload it because it's got to be hilarious to hear my excitement.
Did you catch him?
No, that moment was over, but I was like, something else might happen. I got to go get the camera, and other stuff happened, and I think that's probably why I never uploaded the footage, because, when you're in the circle, you have to keep that stuff private. So I was like, I got to just look through and see what is acceptable to, because like some of the stuff, I think I uploaded some of the footage of one time Jermaine Dupri brought us out to Atlanta to DJ for his birthday weekend, So Def weekend in Atlanta. And shout out to Chris Latimer for that too, because he was involved in that, bringing us out there as well. So that's,
I did a radio takeover and all that.
We did a radio takeover, but we also did the party. So it's Hollywood Boys, DJ Clue, and I don't know if Funk Flex might have been the other DJ too, but I know for sure it was us and DJ Clue, and I think maybe, like I said, I think maybe Flex was there. So, but yeah, we were the only ones that went and did the radio takeover. So we're just playing all the Houston stuff, all the stuff that normally wouldn't be on the radio outside of the city. We're playing all of that stuff there. So I did upload that footage, but other stuff gets into, okay, I can't show, I'm not going to be the one responsible for putting out, oh, this dude was doing that, and, this was going on, so we were fortunate to be in those circles, and I was like, all right, got a lot of it on tape, but that's just personal, personal viewing at this point, so.
Yeah. Man, talk about the airline thing again, of course.
The airline thing. So that's one of those many projects that we got approached with, and it was somebody that Aggravated knew initially who approached us, and he's like, you want to do it? I was like, of course. This gives me even more of an outlet for kind of my silly side, because my thing was, we would do stuff on the radio inside. I was all about inside jokes. Not too many, because if you're doing too much, people don't know what you're talking about, then you turn them off. But so yeah, we'd finish our show on the air 10 to 1 at night, and then we'll go into another studio in the back of the radio station and do the voice track. But I was like, man, we're gonna be as creative with this as we can be. So we would do. My thing was always, we grew up watching like Johnny Carson talk. One of the only talk shows. They were like, live from Burbank, California, it's the Tonight Show. So that's how we did our show. I was like, yeah, we're in the penthouse in Burbank, California right now, and Aggravated's dying laughing in the background because he knows the reference, and we would just do it. We'd record it, set it up, they would assemble it back at the office, and that was it. They just gave us a channel. We were the urban channel on all continental flights anywhere in the world. But it was one of those things that a lot of people would come back and talk about. Somebody, man, I was just in Italy, man, and I'm listening to y'all on the plane, and I'm telling everybody, I know these guys. That would always be the story. Oh man, going to Australia. And I'm telling the stewardess, hey, I know these guys, until the one time when we were on a plane ourselves going to one of these events, and somebody, one of the flight attendants knew us. So that was a weird moment, because what wasn't expected. We're just chilling, and then you're like, ladies and gentlemen, if I can direct everybody to your in-flight entertainment, if you look down, whatever it is, channel 3, the Hollywood Boys, urban whatever channel, well, they're seated right now at aisle 5. And it was just like this whole thing. We were like, wow, cool moment, a very cool moment, that to have people do that, and just always walking up out of nowhere. Man, I was just telling my wife, man, we went to honeymoon out in Jamaica, man. We were jamming y'all the whole way there. So it was just one of those things. At that time, we were at the top of our game, and pretty much if you wanted something to be successful, you had to have us be part of it. You weren't gonna have a party and be able to say it was the best party if you didn't have us there, so. Because like Steve Nice didn't really do a lot of parties. He was the club dude. He had the club sewed up and was on the radio. We were on the radio and did all the parties. So if it was a promoter party, if it was these festivals, we did that kind of stuff. So like just the same thing. You weren't gonna have a hot club if you didn't have Steve Nice there. You had to get Steve Nice at your club. So that was us for parties and stuff like that. So projects.
You said, at the height, one of the things, and we talked about it off camera, but that Men on Wax, bro, I will never forget.
Yeah. Did I bring that? I think
walking into Sound Waves and seeing, and at this time, prior to this, the only thing you saw was like DJ Clue, Funk Flex, people from elsewhere as far as DJs dropping albums in the store.
So making mixtapes for a DJ is second nature. You do it automatically at the house. You're putting together a tape of either the stuff that's hits or things that you think will be hits, whatever the case may be. And so as we did, people always approached us with ideas. And so somebody approached me with like, hey man, we should get together and do like a record label for you and Aggravate to do mix CDs. And I said, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's do it. So it was 3 of us got together and formed Red Bean Records. And the concept was we're just going to make mix CDs. And it takes a while to get the CDs and stuff manufactured. So we're like, okay, well, I'll try to do like a 4-track mix, try to make them unique. So it's going to be hot songs, but I'm going to make a little bit of a remix, try to, just layering beats and stuff. And then we're going to do these parodies. Here again, my sense of humor. Men in Black came out. All right, we're going to do Men on Wax. So we do the photo shoot. We take the pictures just like that. We recreate the Men in Black artwork. And that's how we did all of them. The first CD we did was called The Blaster Strikes Back, because I was a big Star Wars dude, and they had just re-released the original trilogy in the theaters somewhere in the mid-90s. So I was like, okay, we're gonna do The Blaster Strikes Back. And so that was every CD we did was some kind of a play on. We did a CD called Crunk, which was a play on Crest. So we remade the Crest logo and made it say Crunk. Bounce. We kept the same name, and that was a problem. We got sued for that, and had to go in. We only were able to kind of get out of that because we were like, well, we changed the colors. The rainbow arrangement, the colors are in a different order. Yeah, Procter and Gamble wasn't trying to hear that. But, so that particular CD. But yeah, so that's what that was. We did that for about 3 years, and it ended. We did Texas Freaknik, which was a huge release for us as well, because it was just, we would get in the studio and just think of stuff. But that was a big one. But I think not too long after that, I got a cease and desist. And I was like, okay, well, sir, you don't have to send the paperwork. I will just stop with this phone call. If that's okay with you, can serve as official notice. And the guy was cool. He's like, they were out of Dallas. He's like, okay, as long as you stop. Because, they had bought the CD and traced it back to the pressing plant. And, we were doing it like the barcode is a real barcode. We had a real distributor. We were doing everything professionally.
We just didn't own the music.
We just didn't have rights to the music. And so the thing to understand at that point, and we knew what we were doing as hip hop. If you go watch Beat Street, okay, they plugging in the power to the street light in the abandoned building to throw a party. So you kind of know what you're doing, but you're doing it like, okay, this is what it is. You know, that's as street as I ever got was making mixtapes. As rough as I've ever been. But we would talk to the record reps. So I talked to the record rep at Def Jam who sends me the record and follows up with me to see what I think about it. All the record reps are cool. They love it. But legal doesn't care what the record reps say. The people that own the rights to it are like, yeah, whatever. You know, we don't care what that representative told you. We're not trying to hear it. So we would have lots of conversations with labels, and I would always be like, just tell me what you want me to do. You know, we had an issue with Master P.
Yeah, I started it off with how you do that, though.
Supposedly, we were outselling him in Louisiana at the time when the mix dropped. That's what we were told, and that's how it got brought to his attention, because we were flying off the shelves, if not more than just as much as him at the time. And, you know, so when they check it out to see what it is, they're like, oh, hell nah. You know, so. And I think something happened like that with UNLV, with Cash Money. So, you know, we had Drag 'em in the wrist. So, you know, we would have those issues. But we would only do limited pressings. The idea was, okay, if I only sell 7,500, it won't be like I sold 50,000 where they're like, oh, yeah, we can really get some money. They're going to be like, okay. They made some money, but it's not enough for us to
go to court about it.
To come from New York and really try to sue these guys. We'll just tell them to stop. And so that was basically the formula. We're gonna do this. It's gonna be, you know, quick burner. We're gonna you know, do it and be done. We make our limit 7,500. That's it. If you didn't get one, it's just gone. Like I probably was telling you earlier, I had to go back and buy some of these CDs from Sam Goody, because we get them made, they get drop shipped straight to the distributor. And, you know, every now and then I'll be like, send me a box. And it might, I don't remember, you know, a couple hundred in a box that we're using for whatever promotion. But we would end up having to go and restock the stores ourselves because they would sell so fast. And, I mean, the store is doing full displays. We don't have a person doing that. They're just doing it. Like, man, this is the #1 selling CD. So we made a display. And so we ended up not having any copies of our own stuff. And I was, you know, me and you, we got to have those souvenirs. So I was like, shit, give me the company card. I'm going swiping an Amex at every Sam Goody. Like, give me these last 2 men on wax, because they don't know, but I know we're not making any more of these. So when these are gone, this is it. So
did you ever make a digital copy of this? Because I've been trying to.
Yeah, I can email it to you tonight. Yes. Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I still have all the original studio sessions for all this stuff. I mean, we didn't make it and sell it, you know, because that wasn't a thing back then. So we made cassettes and CDs. So, but yeah, I still have all of those files. So all that stuff is still available, you know.
Hell yeah.
So, but yeah, we had a great run. Again, a lot of fun doing that stuff too, man. So
legendary run, and that's, you know, it tripped me out because to me, in my eyes, you and Ag are just like, when it comes to DJing, especially in Houston, like, y'all gods to me. You know what I'm saying?
We appreciate that.
He was saying, like, you know, y'all were more like expected to do that versus like really giving it up or really receiving, you know.
Well, you know, I think when you're early, probably in anything in humanity, when you're the first ones doing it, okay, you're kind of blazing the path. Now, we looked up to people like Chili Bill Smith, R.P. Cola, Lester Surpace. There were DJs before us, and they probably get even less credit. So that's why I want to make sure I'm saying those names out loud. They get even less credit because they were just so early. So we at least kind of started to get we got definite notoriety from it. I don't know if there was anybody as big as us before us when it comes to DJing the parties and the events, these huge, that maybe there was, but we didn't really know. But it very quickly got to that point of, okay, we're doing so much stuff, that's just what you're supposed to do. So yeah, you get on BET, okay, that's an incredible thing at the time, but people were just kind of like, oh yeah, that was dope. You know, what's next? You know, okay, yeah, we saw that one, but now what you're gonna do? What's the next trick? What's the next thing you're gonna amaze us with? And we would just keep coming with stuff. Okay, well, how about this Men on Wax CD? Oh shit, this is incredible. Somebody stole mine from me. They broke the windows out and did it. But now what's next? All right, well, we're gonna be on every flight you take. oh, that shit was dope, man. I was in Africa and heard it. Now what? It was just always kind of that. But we would just keep doing it. We're like, okay, well, yeah, we got something else. We're going to do this too. We'll do that. We just kept doing stuff. And it wasn't until maybe the next generation or so that we were like, man, wait a minute. That's dope that this thing happened. But, Ag would be more the one to be like, man, but we did this, this, and this. And I would always be like, man, don't worry about it. Let's just keep doing stuff. He's like, but we kind of need to get our props for this though, man. We did some stuff. And I was like, yeah, and it'll be something like this where it'll come up. Now it's part of history. It's in the archives of hip hop, officially now. But for a while there, yeah, Ag would be like, man, do people not know what we did? And then we go into the Hollywood boy mode from, yeah, you know who we are, man. What, but
Hollywood boy, where my shades at?
Yeah. Hold up, man. How am I talking to y'all? Who set this up, man? Let's talk to my agent. We'll get in that mode every now and then to be silly, but yeah, I think just being pre-social media era, everybody's got an HD camera in their pocket
is documented
era. Yeah. You just, a lot of that stuff is just lost into the ether, man. But fortunately, again, we have a lot of it, we have enough of it kind of preserved. I was kind of forward thinking for all of that. To get the BET footage, I had a TiVo. TiVo was the unit back then. So I had a TiVo and I set it to record. Then I have a DVD recorder. So, I'm like doing what DJs do. I'm connecting stuff to other stuff. Bam, I got us, we're good. Because otherwise, how you going to get that footage? Okay, maybe it'll be on YouTube. But I don't know if they just put all those old episodes.
Yeah, they not.
They don't. Yeah.
So if you don't upload that,
if I didn't have it, if I didn't have it, it's lost. Nobody would know, what we did. The even bigger one, I forgot. We're talking about, the basement. I did an episode of 106 in Park when they came to Houston.
I remember that. That's when Face
at the arena with me and Face. It was me and Face with AJ and Free. Man, it was like 5,000 people at that thing, man. It was incredible.
I remember when 106 in Park came out here.
And I remember, the main thing I remember leading up to that was how hard it was to get a Houston Astros throwback jersey. Throwback jerseys were just coming out. I think I probably had to get that in New York. Like, nobody had a Houston Astros throwback jersey. I was like, yo, I'm going to be on TV. I got to have it. Somebody, I wish I could remember who eventually found it so I could give them the credit. But I used to call people in New York like, hey, man, go down to the bootleg area, the avenue and see what's what. See if you can find this. See if you can find that for me. I would call people and do stuff like that. Somebody came through with it. And it's the real one, luckily. But, that was huge. 5,000 people in the arena, bro, and we doing, a live taping of a TV show. I'm introducing AJ and Free to the city of Houston. That was very major at the time.
It was fucking huge, man. Come on, man.
It was, but we forget about it. Like that's the Ag thing. Like, man, people forget the stuff we did. But again, it was just expected. Okay, well, that's Blaster. Of course he's doing that. Well, that's Aggravated. Of course he's doing that. So
before we get out of here, there's a picture of you, Scarface, and Flavor Flav.
I just uploaded that. I got so many dope pictures like that.
Because Flavor Flav stayed out here for a minute.
Flavor Flav lived in Houston for a minute. So many people lived in Houston. I almost did a song with Dana Dane.
He was on Rap A Lot for a minute, right?
He was, and so that was my connection. Like, okay, I did a track for him, and then the record never got released. So, like we were saying earlier, there's so much stuff that it never got released. So, it just is what it is. It's in my archives, and that's it. But yeah, me, Face, and Flavor Flav. So that's at a Run DMC concert at a club called Brass Monkey here in Houston. It used to be West Park and Gessner area. And I was the DJ for the club. So what happened was, if you go back to the Say What You Want to Say song with the Box All-Stars, I think Steve Nice kind of said something like, basically, people trying to play us out because we work for the box, because we work for the radio. You think we just radio DJs, but in my interpretation of that line, I'm really into hip hop. I'm not a radio DJ. I'm a real life DJ who happens to be on the radio. I'm a producer. I'm in this. I live this. This is what I do. So what happened was I kind of started developing alter egos. And on the Men on Wax, I think there's a production credit for the Ghost, because I hadn't really come up with what I was going to do, but I knew I wanted some separate. So it's like produced by Ag, Blaster, and the Ghost or something like that. That was me trying to still have a separate identity, because everybody's like, now it's just the radio. You're just the radio guy. And so at this point in time, we're starting to get an underground. Because in the early days of us getting on the radio, all rap was pretty much underground. So whatever, you played, that was all there was. But when you get to the mid 90s, later 90s, now you got, okay, it's underground rap that's not making the radio, and then there's this radio stuff. And I didn't want to get branded that way. So I was just always on some wild out shit. Like, well, when I do hip hop events, I'm gonna wear like a disguise or something. I'm gonna just bug out. And so I would wear a ninja mask. That's the picture with me facing Flavor Flav. And so the thing about that is they don't know who I am. Face might not, Face, if you watch this, I will have to show that picture. He may never have known that that was me, because I wouldn't talk, I wouldn't do anything. I'm in a ninja mask, and when it's time to DJ, I'm gonna go DJ, and I'm gonna bring out Run DMC, and we're gonna watch the show. So that's the story behind that. It's another one of those industry type things where all the industry people, we were up on the top floor. So there's Face, there's, Ghetto Boys, everybody is up on the top floor, and they're standing there talking, and I kind of get in. I might have said one or two things, and then somebody's there and they took the picture, and that's it. So that's the picture that well, I don't even know what I just uploaded that for, what was going on, but I don't know if it was like a throwback Thursday or something.
It just popped in my head. I'm like,
oh, hip hop memory. Shout out to I think Shannon Henderson posted something and tagged me on it on Instagram. What's one of your cool hip hop memories or something like that. So she uploaded a picture of her with Face now. So I uploaded a picture of me with Face back in the 90s. That's what it was for. So yeah, man. Lots of stuff like that, man. Lots of cool moments and memories and experiences through hip hop, man. Very grateful that hip hop has carried me this far and given me all these incredible experiences and moments.
Is there anything left where you like, man, I think I still kind of want to do this before? Like,
well, there's the things that you do already that you can do at a higher level. So you can say, okay, yeah, I did some production. Now let me do more production for bigger people.
You talk like, I don't want to say like me, but this is how I be responding to shit. It's like, I want to do what I'm doing just on a higher level.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've always made music. Okay, so maybe I need to make a song for, I did a project where I'm always making beats. I'll ride and listen to, beats for hours. But at one point I started uploading like to SoundCloud, and I was like, okay, this is one for Raekwon. This is one for Common. That's like the name of the song. This beat is for, Jay-Z. This beat is for Common. So yeah, doing something like that on a bigger level, for other artists, that would just probably be the natural progression of things. But I don't think there's any experience that I haven't had at some level already. Production, radio, TV. I mean, look, we even acted in a couple of movies. We were in the original Dirty Third,
mm-hmm.
Tried to be hard.
Man, this motherfucker, man.
Oh, that was a stretch.
I'm like, man, goddamn, Blaster going off, man. I don't know this guy. Like, I don't know how to talk like this.
Maybe I can do more acting, something like that, But everything that was there, we had an experience.
You said it was rough. Was that tough for you to have to do that and like play?
No, I'm just saying it's it's so far from who I really am in real life that it was probably just hilarious to do, and they probably had to come back like, can you be a little harder, man? And I'm like, gosh, I don't know, I'll try. It's not me, but hey, it's acting. It's what you do. You go. It's like DJing. It's a performance. Blaster is a character. Hollywood boys are characters. So yeah, that's.
Hold on one second.
That's what it is.
What's the deal?
Man, this motherfucker. We steady riding around in Collins. I'm steady pulling it in and out. I cannot find it. Never find this motherfucker. It's that old truck right there.
It's an old truck in front of it. Yeah, C9. It's an old truck and a Grand Cherokee. Cherokee Jeep. But It's C9. It's gonna say C9 on the door in those warehouses.
Every time I come here, I think it's too fucking like it's too fucking lots.
Nah, it's just that. It's just that when you come in, I'm finna send Elliot down. I'm still recording. I'm wrapping up this episode now.
Oh, you still recording other people?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm wrapping up right now though.
All right, that's good.
All right. ESG.
Oh, that's ESG. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna get to that.
That's the only reason why I answer, because I know he's outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. I was talking to K Reno about this because I had Jazzy Red on the show recently.
Yeah.
And he was saying that this is a 50th year of hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I had Jazzy Red on, and he was saying that he was the first person to release a rap song, 1983, which will make this technically like the 40th year of Houston hip hop.
Okay.
Within that time, what would you say? Like, you've seen a lot of rappers come through. Most of them, a lot of the best ones, you know what I'm saying, in your area when you were coming up. Top 5 H-Town rappers all time.
Ooh. K Reno is in there. Scarface. Man, Royal Flush as a group, I'm gonna count them as one. I'm biased towards my guy that I worked with, Lil Troy. Is the reason I worked with him, because I thought he was an incredible lyricist. Let's see who else. A lot of the guys, man, weren't known. They weren't known people, man, and there were so many of them. Romeo Poet was a great one. Like Romeo Poet and K Reno, those were dudes where I was like, man, these guys are incredible. K Reno's still killing it to this day. That's why I need to do a song with K Reno. I take some of these beats and get with him. But yeah, that would probably be it, man. Like I said, Face, 3-2 got to be in there as well. Because those guys were neck and neck to me. Like I said earlier, I didn't really favor one over the other because I was like, man, these dudes are both just killing it. So, those would probably be my favorites, And that's all, dudes from the 80s, man. But, that was an era where we were a little more influenced by the East Coast, so it was more about the lyrics. It was more about the clever writing, the wordplay and stuff, and so that's still what strikes my ear to this day. So definitely back then, those guys would be killing it. And
does it trip you out to see, like, Scarface is pretty much top 5 on everybody's list for the most part, no matter where you're from. You know what I mean? Does it trip you to see, like, this kid that was riding his bike to your house really, like, grew up to be, like, one of the greatest rappers of all time?
We spoke today, and I actually kind of alluded to that. He said something on one of my posts like,
I saw that your mom would be mad.
Yeah, Will's mom would be mad. And I said, well, man, you got to think, we were running a studio out of her house. She wasn't mad, but at the same time, she wasn't just coming to make us cookies and milk either. She was like, man, y'all turn that music down. But, I was telling him, how proud I was of him. And it's a genuine feeling that I have for him, because I'm like, man, I remember when we were little kids doing this just because we loved it and just because we were having so much fun. And I feel like when I see you on the stage, a part of me is with you because we did so much stuff together. And he reciprocated. He kind of, said he felt the same way, and he appreciated that. And so it is a trip. And I looked at him kind of the way that people, people looked at us. I'm like, well, but yeah, he was so good. I expected that of him. But every now and then I have to take a step back. And like today, I had to take a step back and say, hey, man, I'm proud of you. I love you. And this is awesome. We was doing this in like 1985, 86. And look at you now. It's incredible how far you've taken this thing. And because I always expected him to do it, it was a while when I would hear people say, like, somebody like Jay-Z be like, well, yeah, Scarface is one of my favorite rappers. Like, wait a minute, I know him. Really? And you start to hear all these other people say that, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool that everybody sees him the way I see him, that they're putting him up there in the top whatever. My thing with something like that, I don't have to be number one, but if I'm in the conversation, that's the achievement right there. Because number one is something that could rotate every 5 minutes. I used to joke and tell people at some point in the history of Texas, I was the number one DJ in the state. It might have only been for an hour in 1996, but for that 1 hour, I was there. A lot of people will never get that. They'll never. And so you have to be humble and be appreciative of that. And that's how I feel about him. Even if you don't put him as your number one, he's in your top whatever. Whatever number you come up with a top, he's in there. So, yeah, it's all love with me and him, man. And yeah, you know, he's that dude, man, you know.
Like you said, I can't remember how you just said it just now, but you was basically saying like you felt like you should, or you would like to, or you felt like you should be on like the list or looked at like he's saying. I can tell you right now, as long as I'm around and I'm talking about DJs, I'm talking about Def Jam Blast and DJ Aggregator. You know
I appreciate that, man. And you know, yeah, as long as we're in the conversation. I've never seriously cared about rankings and titles and awards.
That's ego shit. Like,
it just was always about fun.
Yeah.
I will dare say I could speak for Face too. He was never about none of that. We were just having fun. He was such a creative person, and he needed that outlet, and he got it. And I felt like you know, Ag said something about Blast would be the one to come with these costumes and this. I was a creative person, and I needed that outlet, and I got it, and I had fun. Oh, yeah, and y'all liked it too. This is awesome. Everybody else likes what I'm doing. Well, come on, let's all have fun together. Come watch us put on these costumes and do whatever it is we doing and have some fun. You know, like he's talking about the intro to Men on Wax, or I was talking about it maybe after he got off. It's a skit. And he's like, what are you doing? I was like, just trust me. Just do it. King of Rock. You know, the King of Rock. I'm the King of Rock. Just trust me. But what's funny is I'm talking to myself. Like I'm playing the agent and I'm playing Blaster, and it's hilarious to make it. So he's got to keep a straight face. But yeah, you know, just to be in the conversation, you know, to have people enjoy stuff that we did. Everything else is just the icing on the cake. I never wanted to be a popular DJ. I just wanted to learn how to scratch. I wanted to go to law school, but I just wanted to learn how to scratch because I was like, man, that's so cool. How are these guys doing? It was kind of nerdy, you know, gadgety sort of thing at the time. And, you know, look where it took me, you know, sticking
around
with it.
the world.
Yeah, sticking with it literally is taking me around the world and back. And you know, just very fortunate to have done the things we done and seen the things that I've seen, met the people that I've met. I've met all of my idols, all of my heroes in hip hop. I met all of them. From Grandmaster Flash to Kool Herc. I interviewed Kool Herc. And again, it's one of those moments, like Aggravated was telling the story about us, you know, hanging out with Houdini, but I'm talking to Jalil, but I'm like, is that Kool Herc? And then I just leave and I go get the camera and start interviewing him. So I'm good, man. You know, it got me to meet everybody that I looked up to at that time, you know, in those years. Maintain relationships with quite a few of them. What more can you ask for? I don't need no awards and titles and stuff, man. You know, I'm having so much fun. So those things came, but that was always extra, man. You know, I was never striving for any of that stuff. Unfortunately, people like rankings and they like to say, well, you know, is it, you know, Ag, Blast, or Steve? And I was like, I don't care, man. We having a ball together. You know, Steve comes to the forum parties. We go to the Roxy. We're not competing with each other. We're supporting each other. We love each other. We're having fun together, you know. And that was it. So.
Yeah, Steve Nice is another one. Like, growing up, man, yeah.
Man,
yeah.
Steve Nice, man. I can't even tell Steve Nice stories, though. You know, they're just Steve Nice stories. Those are industry stories that I'm like, okay, you know, we would joke like, you know, yeah, sex, drugs, and hip hop, but take out the drugs and double the sex and add more hip hop. You know, industry stuff would just be wild, man. So, you know, lots of stories. You know, they just need to stay private, man. But we would have so much fun with Steve as well, man. Because yeah, for that time it was me, Ag, and Steve. That was like the three main dudes for a long time in Houston. You know, during that '90s era in particular. So, you know, great stuff, man.
So yeah, I got you come back with Ag, man, and we do it.
Yeah, we got to do a Hollywood Boys one and just kind of focus on that stuff. Because yeah, there's things that I'm not going into because I'm like, okay, that's.
I'm intentionally kind of just touching around. Yeah, I'm like, man, if I sit both of y'all down, that's a whole nother.
Right. I liked that he told the King of Rock story. I probably told it the first time on the podcast, but I liked that he tells it because that was another one of those kind of watershed turning point moments in our dynamic. Because like he say, I'm always kind of just thinking of something. And I'm like, I know I can do it though. I know I can convince the people to go with me. And he'd be like, nah, man, that is whack. King of Rock ain't never been a record that got played at parties and clubs or nothing, you know. But I knew I could do it. And so he trusted me after that. If I say King of Rock, trust me, this is gonna work. You know, we're gonna put on these bulletproof trust me, it's gonna work. We're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. Trust me, man. Just trust me, they're gonna go for it. Because I was always like, we're artists. I'm not just a DJ just playing a song. When I play Run DMC, I become Run DMC. I become LL, you know, I become part of the music. And so it's a performance. We're doing a performance beyond just playing a song and shouting out tip your bartenders. We're actually with the music. A lot of DJs talk over the music. I talk with the music. And that was kind of our thing. So yeah, anything that was, you know, creative, the Hollywood boys stuff, you know, we can get into that at some point when we get back together, man. For
sure. Well, yeah, man. I definitely got to have you send me that Men on Wax, man.
Yes, yeah.
I heard that in some years.
Share some of the stuff with you, absolutely, man.
Absolutely. And whatever else, just whatever you want to send me. You know what I'm saying? I know you got all kinds of stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? Whatever.
All kind of jewels, man. All kind of jewels.
But man, I appreciate you coming through, man. It's always just an honor to just chop it up.
I appreciate you having
me
back, man. Yeah, I'm glad to be back, you know, in full color this time, you know. So always a pleasure, and you know, humbled to be a part of the story of this city, man. There's so many threads that weave through the fabric of hip hop in Houston, and I'm one of them. And I appreciate being able to share that story, man. So thank you.
Alrighty, that's what it is. It's Donnie Houston Podcast, Def Jam Blaster. Hey, man, whip out here.
Donnie Houston.
Subscribe to the Donnie Houston Podcast, man.